Hey guys, happy Halloween. This is Josh, and I'm here to give you the details of October, the 10th month of Limit Theory development. You know, it was the weirdest thing. This month, I really, the whole month I had this feeling of like, Josh, you're terrible. You're the worst. You're not doing any work. It's horrible. They should just fire you. They should take back the Kickstarter money because you're not getting anything done. And you know what? Now that the month is over, I realize, wow, I did a lot of work. And I have a lot to show for this month. It just wasn't exactly what I wanted, and it wasn't exactly what I thought I would have to show. But you know, life is unpredictable, so I'm still happy that I have a lot to show. So, as always, we're going to start out with some graphics. Hey, I bet you didn't see that coming. I'm just going to look around here a little bit, and I want to show off this shader effect that is making a surprising difference in the aesthetic appeal of LT these days. It's kind of a bloom effect. I'm going to turn it off here in a second so you can see what I'm talking about, but basically it just kind of softens the scene and spreads color in a way that's just it's just really pleasing to the eye, and I really like it. Of course, your mileage may vary, and maybe it's not for everyone, but I discovered this by accident, totally by accident, kind of inspired by Skyrim, but still by accident, and I can't turn it off ever since I discovered it. It's fantastic. So I'm gonna turn it off. Okay, Josh, or you could turn off particles. Good job. Bloom, buddy. Turn off bloom. Sorry, I'm having a senior moment here. There we go. So you can see it's much more contrasty, sharp. That's without the effect, and here's with the effect. It kind of softens, and you can see the color bleeding across various objects. Kind of makes the scene feel more holistic, you know. So I'm sure some of you will prefer the high contrast version, and for those of you, feel free, play without it. Personally, I love this effect, and I'm never going to play without it again, because it just makes the scene feel, I don't know, it's hard to say really, but I love it. So that was a really nice little graphical surprise from this month. Like I said, wasn't really expecting that. But that was not the biggest graphical surprise of this month. Okay, so you see that planet in the distance. Well, you guys have been asking for bigger planets. Ever since I first showed them, the only thing I've heard about them is not, hey Josh, the really beautiful surface function, good job there. I wonder what kind of math you used. No, it was, Josh, it's too small. Okay, well, I got the message. And as I said 2 months ago, we needed a double precision engine in order to really push the scale, and guess what we have as of 2 weeks ago? That's right, we have a full double precision engine. So the Limit Theory engine is now, unlike minigame engines, running in double precision, which means it does all its position-related calculations at a higher accuracy than is normal for a game. And because of this, we can support really big distances, really big scales, without any problem. So that planet that you see in the distance is 10 times larger, exactly 10 times larger than any planet you've seen in LT before. It's still not realistically scaled, because I don't think realistic scale is interesting from a gameplay perspective. But it's much bigger, and the key is the engine can now support realistic scale. So you know, if you really want to play this game with realistic scales and, you know, absolutely massive planets, be my guest. We'll talk about modding later, and it's absolutely going to be feasible for you to tweak the scales in the game, and I'm sure someone will make a realistic scale mod, and you can play with that and be happy. As for me, I think I like this. This planet is about 10,000 times larger than my ship, I believe. So, you know, not quite accurate, but big enough to convey a sense of epicness. Of course, it's really hard to perceive scale here because there are no objects close to it. But I'm going to try to find a warplane so that we can get some perspective. But yeah, so double precision engine is a big advancement for LT, and it's a very exciting one. The distances in the system have also been pushed by tenfold, so everything should just feel a lot more epic. Quick note that I didn't didn't remember to mention at the beginning is the asteroid popping. Listen, I know it's an issue. You don't need to point it out. I mean, you can, but I'm aware of it, and it's actually not a very easy issue to solve, especially since they're full, like 3D volumetric asteroids. So just know that I'm aware of the issue, and I'm going to work to solve it. As for the warplanes, I just want to say a quick word. I know some people don't like it. Actually, a lot of people have expressed that they don't like the warplane system. If your problem is with the aesthetics of the warplanes, I mean, they're terrible right now. they're just scratch work, basically. They'll get a lot better. If your problem is with the actual mechanic of having a fast travel that's not point-to-point jump, then you're out of luck. I'm sorry, but I find point-to-point jump to be, I mean, from a gameplay perspective, it's massively less interesting than having a structural connectivity to systems that induces this really interesting distance metric on the systems, which is that 2 points in space, their distance is defined relative to the connectivity of the warplanes in that system. If you just have point-to-point jumps, I mean, it's always boring. It's just the distance between A and B. That's my opinion, and it's not going to change. I'm sorry. I really love having that interesting structure. But I digress. We need to talk about research. So research is a fundamental piece of LT, and it's what I've been working on a lot this month in terms of concepting, and I want to show you guys just a little peek of what research is going to look like. So research is the stage before crafting, or before construction, if you like. Everything in the LT universe that's artificial has to be brought about through a process of research and then construction. What I'm showing you right now is a mock-up tech tree. So I don't have the mechanics of everything implemented yet, but I've got a mock-up and I know how it's going to work so that I can explain it to you. And that was really the hard part, is figuring out how it was going to work. So the way research works is you have this tech tree, kind of like you would expect. And what I really wanted to do is integrate the idea of proceduralism, just like everything in the game is procedural. So it totally makes sense that we would have a procedural element to research, that there would be some kind of explorative factor. And I also wanted to really incorporate the idea that you can specialize. You can become really good at building this certain specialized type of equipment that is kind of your staple, and you use it to get ahead or whatever in the universe. So the way this works right now is you have, like I said, a traditional tech tree, and the only thing you have to do to research is you select a node. You select any node that you're interested in pushing further, that you're interested in advancing your knowledge of. And what will happen is over time, and depending on how much research capability you have, which is determined by how many research modules you have, over time you'll have a chance of unlocking new nodes in the tech tree, and they will be kind of fanning out from the nodes that you've selected. So I'm going to show you a mock-up of that process. Basically the way it works is the nodes that you discover are procedural, so they're not predefined. And what they are is really, they're modifiers on top of the base technology. So this is a fighter, and I've just created a mock-up of what a modified version of that technology would look like. It's called Heavy Fighter. Now, the engine will procedurally apply modifiers to the base technology to derive new technologies, and then in turn you can create blueprints for these technologies and build them. So if I hover over the Heavy Fighter here, I can see the modifiers that have been applied to it. And actually, sorry, this is a very new tech tree widget, so there are still some bugs in it. The second one should be red because plus 25% mass is a bad thing. But so you can see it's got 20% more health or integrity than a standard fighter, but that comes at a cost of 25% extra mass, which means it's going to move slower. So it is really a heavy fighter. It's going to take more damage, but it's also going to move slower. So really, exploring the tech tree is a matter of making trade-offs, of figuring out exactly what special types of equipment and ships and items you want to focus on. And then you'll basically work with the procedural system to explore the areas of the tree that interest you. Again, keeping in mind that these are procedurally generated. So here's a military fighter. You can see it's got +1 turret hardpoint and plus 25% mass. So again, the mass should be in red because that's a bad thing. But the +1 turret hardpoint means you can mount, an extra weapon on that fighter compared to a standard fighter. And again, plus 25% mass means it's going to be heavier. So I've been researching fighter for a while, if I've unlocked these two. And I've basically found two new directions that I could go with fighter research. I could choose now to specialize in military fighters, really prepping them for war, or heavy fighters, which again, kind of warlike. And I can keep exploring this branch and keep adding more and more modifiers. So now, okay, this doesn't make sense. Again, this is a very new system. I'm sorry, I didn't have time to work out the bugs yet. It's +1 turret hardpoints and then -1 turret hardpoints. It doesn't really make sense. That kind of stuff won't happen. But the idea is that if you like the direction that a branch is going, you say like, oh, military fighter, yeah, I want to specialize in war and I want to have really powerful fighters. So I like the way that's going. Then you'll switch your research to that new node. And then when you make a new discovery, it will be off of the new node. And hence it will have kind of modifiers on top of modifiers, and so you'll keep modifying this specialized technology. And what will happen is you'll get more and more specialized. See, here I've just unlocked something that has not only +1 turrets, plus 25% mass, but also 20% more health and 1 less thruster hardpoint, which was, again, the trade-off. So that's really a heavy military fighter. This thing's going to move slowly. It's got extra mass. It's got less turrets. Less thrusters. But it's got more health and it's got more weapon hardpoints. So, that's really a specialized, that thing's going to do some damage compared to a normal fighter. And if you like that direction, you can keep going. And the modifiers will keep, evolving. And you'll again, work with the procedural system to uncover technologies that interest you. So you can say I've just added a bunch of nodes to the tree, and I'm just kind of want to show you that the way research works really is it's all about crafting your tech tree. It's all about kind of building it in the direction that you want. See, this military bomber now has loads of different trade-offs associated with it. And sometimes, I've been talking a lot about trade-offs, but sometimes you'll discover things that are just flat-out improvements. But in general, improvements are going to be pretty rare because of balance issues. I don't want you to just keep building up more and more powerful items, because it's just there's a balance problem with that. So in general, it will be a game of trade-offs, but if you're persistent, you'll get better technology, and so eventually you'll get really good at the things that you're interested in, and you'll have a lot of nodes concentrated in that area. If you like extraction, for example, you can see on the left, that's mining basically. So you can develop really sophisticated mining equipment that can allow you to mine more effectively, or faster, or maybe from a smaller ship, so on. So I really love the system because it's very simple. Obviously, you're just selecting a node, but it's very flexible. It really gives you the opportunity to specialize in whatever it is that you want to specialize in, and you can keep specializing. You can keep exploring, and a lot of this game is really about exploration, taking advantage of the procedural generators to enable this kind of exploration that isn't possible in a normal game, in a manual content game. So the research system embodies that ideal as well. And again, after research, you'll create a blueprint, and then that'll go to the construction module, if you have one, and you'll be able to produce that item. You'll actually manufacture it. So we'll probably talk about that more later. But right now I want to bring up the final piece we're going to talk about is a piece of engine tech that is really, really cool, and it relates to modding. So in the beginning, I was saying that modding was basically not going to happen for LT. But I want to show you some tech that I've been working on that's going to make modding feasible. Not to a large extent, not to the largest, you're not going to be writing arbitrary code, but you will be able to modify all the data that the LT engine runs on, and in doing so you'll be able to edit really a lot of the way that the world works and the way that it's generated and so forth. So what I'm going to show you now is the LT data editor. It's been my pet project for the past few days, and it's basically a generic data editor, visual data editor that can actually dig in to any data that the LT engine uses, and it can show you it visually and allow you to explore it and change it. So what I'm looking at right now is the data that makes my ship. This is my ship, and I'm expanding it. And so all of these nodes are pieces of data that contribute to the engine's representation or idea of what my ship is and how it functions. And the idea behind building this editor is that I can expose that data to you. If you're interested in modding it, if you're interested in tweaking values, this can be used, for example, to modify the generating algorithms that produce, for example, the system layouts, the skyboxes. Everything. I'm hoping that almost everything that can be sort of easily tweaked, I can just put into an external file, and you can use this editor, this LT data editor, to edit all of that and produce mods. And not only that, but it's a really great dev tool for me because it allows me to dig in and see what's going on in the engine. So I'm just kind of show this off a little bit. I think it's a really neat concept because it shows you the data in a way that is much more representative of the beauty and the structure and the elegance of what's really happening inside the engine, as opposed to like printing out stuff to the console or like seeing all this text in a file. That doesn't show you really how beautiful and structured data really is. And this I tried to show you that. So right now I'm digging into a thruster. You can see down there. This is all the data that comprises a thruster that is attached to my ship. So I can actually, dig into the various hard points that are attached to my ship, and I can mess with them, or I can just see what's going on. And again, all of this is laid out automatically by a layout algorithm that I made that's trying to show you, the structure of the data. And so you can navigate this graph pretty easily with your mouse or with your keyboard. And any of these individual nodes can be edited in real time. And I'll show you that a little bit later after I play with it a little more. I'm really, really excited about this widget. I know it's not the most relevant thing to the game. It's more relevant to developers. But I'm super excited about it, so I got to show it, and it's really pretty, I think. So right now I'm looking at the inventory of my ship, and I can see all the items in it. And maybe I can edit one for you. No. Actually, my inventory is hidden below this screen, so I don't want to close this screen, so never mind. I'll find something else to edit. But it's super cool. Oh, how about these pulse lasers? They're super boring, right? Because we've been seeing green pulses for a long time. This is a green system. It's kind of redundant. We don't need all this green. So maybe we can edit the color of the pulse lasers to something a little bit more flashy. So yeah, I'm gonna drill down into that data and show you what that looks like. But I'll open it directly from the weapon. So I clicked on the weapon, and I happen to know where it is. And here is the weapon type. Not the weapon object itself, but the type that is saying the specific properties of this weapon. And this branch that I've highlighted is the munition branch, which is talking about what the ammo of that weapon looks like. And here you can see color. XYZ translate to RGB, so it's got more green component. And I think we should change that. We should, how about some red? I think a red laser could look pretty cool. So in real time, I'm editing the properties of this munition, and there it is. And as you can see, everything updates, all the light information, and everything just works. And this is pretty sweet because again, I didn't do any manual coding to allow this to be possible. I don't have some function, like set munition color that I just accessed. It's all from the data. This widget works for any of the engine data, and it treats it all generically, but at the same time tries to show you it in a nice way. Here we go, a little bit more orange. I really like this. It's a nice color. So yeah, man, I'm just so excited about this widget. It's really going to be a great tool to have for development, and it's going to be a great way to mod the data without having to resort to text files. And yeah, I hope you didn't see that. I just crossfaded because I crashed the editor and I had to reboot. I mean, not reboot, but restart the game. Still in a rough state, it's only a few days old. But what I want to show now, I've kept you guys for too long, and I'm sorry. I just want to show quickly this fun little feature that I can actually change the algorithm that it uses for the layout in real time. So you can have different ways of visualizing the same data if a certain way appeals to you more. This one's kind of like an octagonal kind of like recursive octagons structure. And again, it's really neat to see how beautiful and how structured the data is when you view it in this way, and it makes so much more sense. And you can start to recognize these little sub pieces of the data, especially when they're all patterned like this. You can actually see data types and recognize them just by looking at them. Here's more of like a plant kind of layout. It's pretty interesting. It's like the data tree, literally tree. So man, super cool stuff, and I'm excited to see where this takes me, and I'm super excited to see how much development time it saves me, just being able to look into my data, edit it, and then edit external data for modding purposes. It's going to be fantastic, and it's kind of trippy. I mean, it's like recursive plants. Data's pretty amazing like that. Here's one final layout. It's kind of like a fern. Beautiful stuff. I gotta come clean. Part of the reason why I'm showing you this right now is because I think it looks like super techy and matrixy, and I'm just hoping that you'll enjoy this visual candy and think, oh wow, the LT engine is so great. Well, really, it is pretty great. I'm not gonna lie. This is a pretty sweet technical feat, but obviously it's a little bit overdone in terms of graphics and show. What can I say? I'm a graphics programmer. But I find the standard kind of rectilinear layout is best for being able to recognize things. I can actually already recognize several different data types just by looking at them, because I've been playing with this for a while. So it's super cool. Now I'm gonna have a little fun here towards the end. Sorry, really, this has gone too long. But one final thing, let's just go crazy with this weapon. Why not? And then I'll let you guys go. Boom! Evil Josh. Yeah, you can do some pretty serious damage with that. It's pretty cool. Okay, guys. Hope you enjoyed this kind of weird but interesting month. And thanks for watching. Sorry I kept you so long. And hey, get excited. LT is going to be really great. And the LT editor is going to be really great. Super fun. Okay, I'll see you guys next month.